Hi friends, in this video we will be creating a simple SpringBoot Java Web application, and I already have checked in the code in the GitHub. So if you go to the GitHub and search for Gain IT Gyan, and the project name is Docker Java Web, and you should be able to pull the source code. So once you have the source code, okay, and you can use any of the IDE. I'm using Spring Tool Suite. You can use any of your favorite IDE. Okay, and what exactly we are doing in this application is we are trying to make use of the MySQL container and the Docker DB that is running within it. Okay, so just so in future what will happen is we are going to do is this web application will be running in a separate container, and this application will be communicating with our MySQL database. Okay, so there will be a container to container communication. Okay, so I'll just go through through the tools that I'm using in this application. So yes, I'm using Spring Boot, and it's a maven based application. I'm using Spring Data JPA. Okay, and I'm using again, so I have added MySQL connector Java files, and yes, I'm using JSP. I know that JSP is a little old technology, view technology nowadays, and but just for demo, I'm using JSP. So what I'm doing is, okay, if you look at the packages here, I have a main class here, the Spring Boot main class. I have a controller, I have a DAO layer, then DTO. Okay, this is nothing but data transfer objects. And I have an entity. If you look at the entity, it's nothing but a user table that I'll be creating, or I'll be mapping it in our MySQL database. I have 3 columns: ID, name, and age. Okay, and then I have service layer, where it's a user service layer. So what I'm doing is currently, just to demo, I'm using user table, and I am trying to display all the user information in the JSP. So the user DTO, this is something but I'll be converting my business object, that is my entity object, to the user data object. So then this data object will be then used to display it in the view, that is JSP. I have the home controller. This home controller is nothing but it takes the root path, and what I'm doing is it's a simple get mapping, and it will return the index.jsp. So I have a mapping for this. If you look at the resources application.properties file, which Spring Boot refers for all the configurations, and you can see that the view that I'm using is .jsp with suffix, and prefix is webinf.jsp. So it searches for that path, and here is my index.jsp. I have configured my Spring data source to point it to our SQL database, that is Docker DB, that is running in our MySQL container. I'm using the username and password that we created, and DDL, that is update. That means if the table is, the entities are not present in the database, it will create, and if they are, then it will just update. Okay, and the repository, so the repository is extending and making use of Spring Data JPA. I'm using create repository. So by default, you don't need to implement this user repository. The Spring Data JPA will give us all the default implementation with default methods in it. Okay, so let's try to run this and see. Also make sure that your container is running. So let's do that. Let's see that it is up and running. Okay, here I am now in my CLI. Let's do docker container ls. Yes, my Docker container is running, MySQL. So let's try to run our application. Run as a Spring Boot application. So let's look at the console here. And also in the JSP, what I'm doing is I have just a simple table that will print all the users that we fetch using our user repository in our home control. If you see that, what I'm doing here is I am using the service call and fetching all the users and setting it into the user attribute that is in our request. So now let's try to access this. Go to your local host 8080 and hit enter. And you can see that currently we don't have any user. So let's go to our SQL developer and let's refresh this. Okay, and make sure that, okay, so I think it is. What I'll do is let's try to reconnect this. Okay, so it's now reconnected because we deleted the container, and in our previous session what we did is we deleted the container and then recreated it. That's the reason why the connection was lost. So now we have the table that is 3 columns, okay, and there is nothing within this. So let's try to insert some value from here. Okay, so I'm using this. Now let's insert a row, and I'll also commit. Okay, so now let's go to screen here and refresh, and you can see that the column is updated. Okay, and here also you can, once you try, and you can also verify, you can go to the container and try to check your table. The other thing that we have to do here is, we'll be creating the var file by using maven build tool. So right click on the project, click maven, and run as, and maven build. And the options that you can see here is, the very first time when you try to run, it will prompt you for the options. So you can always do that by run configuration, and you can see that the goals that I'm using is clean and package. So what it will do is it will clean the target folder and create all the files, that is var file and all the other necessary folders within the target folder. Okay, so it looks like, okay, the artifact is created, and if you expand this, okay, and look at the target folder here and expand this, you can see that the var file is created. So we'll be using this var file and try to run it within the container in our future sessions. So hope this application or demo is clear, and I will see you in the next session.